Dashboards on India Data Hub are designed to give you a quick, at a glance overview of the topic for which the dashboards have made. So that you can sort of click on the dashboards link on the home page and get onto the dashboards page. There are currently 10 dashboards deployed on the site. There are 7 macro dashboards, 3 sector dashboards, and there are 2 or 3 dashboards which are actively under development, and you should see them deployed in the next month or two. So how do dashboards work? So if you click on any dashboard, for example, let's say inflation, what it is designed is to give you a quick sort of at a glance view on what's happening in inflation. So the cards on the left, for example, tell you what's the latest inflation number, what the key components of inflation, food inflation, non-food inflation, core inflation, CPI, WPI, sort of what period to which they refer to, and then the chart in the middle gives you an overview of sort of what the sort of trend for the last few quarters has been, and for the headline inflation, and then core and WPI inflation on the right. And if you scroll down, you sort of get a quick overview of what the key drivers of food inflation and non-food inflation are, from cereals and pulses. You can see, for example, that pulses inflation was trending down, and last month it's trended up. Or if you see vegetables inflation was trending up and it's now trending down, or CPI non-food inflation. If you see, for example, the transport and communication has been trending down now for the last few months, whereas education inflation has been trending up, and as has been housing and clothing and footwear. So it sort of gives you a quick glance of sort of what the different components of inflation are doing, and then you have the summary table separately for CPI and WPI with the key components, and so the you can also see the weights of each of the components, and you have the option here to download data, and you can dump all of this data into Excel. So you can do the CPI data, or if you want, you can do the WPI data, and the data is updated as on the latest date, which is available, and you can download this data, and you will get a CSV download of this table into an Excel. So this is sort of inflation dashboard. Some of the dashboards are very interactive. For example, if you look at foreign trade, for example, we'll wait for it to load. It sort of gives you, it's sort of a multi-page dashboard. The key trends page gives you sort of what's happening with foreign trade. So the latest data is for August. In this case, the exports declined 1%, whereas imports grew 35-37%, and the trade balance was up over 100% YOY. And then the right panel is for services. The left chart gives you a quick overview of what the trends have been in terms of exports and imports in absolute terms, and the right chart here gives you trend in terms of year-on-year growth in terms of both exports and the sort of, you can see last 2 months export growth has been very anemic. If you scroll below, then you sort of get a quick overview of what are the key categories that have been contributing to exports. And on the right side, you can sort of there is a drop down wherein you can see individual categories, what the trends have been. So by default you will see total exports, but you can, from the drop down, for example, you can see electronic exports, and you can see electronic exports have increased, or you can see iron ore exports, for example, and you can see iron ore exports have decelerated quite sharply in the last 2 months. And you can scroll down and you can see the same kind of layout for imports. Last 3 months, what has been the growth in the key categories, and again with imports you can break it down, drop down and sort of see, okay, so what's been happening with gold imports. So you can play around and sort of explore different categories. Then we have the trade balance chart, sort of trade with China, how it's shaping up. And if you scroll below, you get a quick overview of what happening with the services. So this is mostly monthly data, which is what the key trends is. If you go to the merchandise exports tab, what you will see is the annual data, and you can see what the annual trends have been. So absolute US dollar billion in this case. The middle chart is for percentage of GDP, and the right side chart is for share in world. And this gives you quickly in terms of what the 5-year growth has been, what the share of GDP is, what the share of the world the data is. This gives you the tree map here is about exports in terms of sector, what the key sectors are, and you can scroll down, get a quick regional glimpse of what the key regions which contribute to exports, and a quick summary table for exports over the last 10 years. So this is the foreign trade dashboard. Similarly, you have dashboards for oil and gas and sort of the sector banking. So let's say if you go to oil and gas, for example, this is again one of the more interactive dashboards. So the cards at the top give you the key data in terms of what is India's consumption, imports, production, and so on, and what the imports and exports are for both oil and gas and petroleum. And then this whole big chart in the middle is where there is interactivity, so you can see what the sort of short-term trends are. So this is by default it will show data for diesel, so what the diesel consumption has been and sort of been decelerating, and you can select individual payments. So you can say, for example, ATF, where things are on the upswing as aviation is coming back to normalcy post-COVID. Kerosene, for example, which has sort of continued to decline very sharply, and so on. So this is the oil and gas dashboard. What you will see again in the next couple of months is a state finances or the government finances dashboard, which will be center plus state, and you will also see a new markets dashboard coming up, which is focused on fixed income. So this is a quick overview of what dashboards is on India Data Hub.